In North Idaho on October 15th, 1989, as the light was beginning to fade, Dennis and Frances Queasty set out for a walk.
It was getting a little late for a walk, but we thought, well, go out and get some fresh air, take a quick walk, run down to the river, back home, kick your feet up, watch a little TV, and that would be it for Sunday. And it didn't turn out quite like that.
Mr. Queasty was very mad at what had happened here because he said he walks that path every night, him and his wife. He said it shouldn't have happened.
Hunting in this area is very popular. A lot of people hunt within a half-mile of their home. Because of this, people have to be extra careful. You never know when somebody just might be out for a walk.
Yeah, it's starting to get pretty dark. We should go.
Come on, Chester, let's go.
Come on, Chester.
We started for home, come back up the road about, I don't know, 200-300 yards, and there's a pickup truck coming.
What's that guy doing down here?
I don't know. Can't tell what he's doing. Maybe we better get off the road. Get out of its way.
The same instant, the muzzle flash, the bullet was there.
I've been hit.
He got out of the pickup and he come up towards us, I don't know, 30, 40 feet, I guess. And we were hollering to tell him we were both hit. Go call 911, we need help.
Don't shoot!
When I saw Frances laying there, I just, you don't know what to think. I mean, there's a million things run through your mind. Death is way back there, but you don't really want to think about it. I looked at the bullet hole in Frances. It went in her chest, and I thought, this don't look real good. I'll go for help.
Dennis and Frances had both been hit by the same bullet. They needed immediate medical attention, but there was no phone anywhere near them.
I didn't get any response from anybody for hollering help, so I took the pistol out of my pocket, fired 3 shots in the air. And you're kind of in a daze there for a minute, but you feel a lot of blood coming. So I unbuttoned my shirt and stuck my hand in there, and I could feel the bone inside my arm and the joint there, and I could feel it was still all hooked together, so I knew it was still with me. And I took that shirt and I started packing it up in my armpit so it would kind of slow up the bleeding, and started to leave, and I thought, this don't really look good. I give her a hug, give her a little kiss, said I'll see you later, and I left. You just think maybe this might be the end. It's kind of a tough deal.
The first information about the incident was relayed to the sheriff's office at 6:45 p.m.
Yeah, we have a report of a gunshot wound.
The male subject, identifying himself as Don from Kootenai Medical Services, called to advise that there had been an accidental shooting and that help was needed.
But they did not have a specific location. Rescue workers were dispatched to the general area.
This is Mary at the sheriff's office. My name is Sharon. Are you the lady that called? Yes.
Within minutes, a woman called in, identifying herself as the wife of the man who had done the shooting. But even she could give nothing more than general directions to the location.
About an accident. Seen a bear and he shot and... Oh boy, I'm telling you. All right. How badly is the boy injured? Don't know.
There's a million things running through my mind in that half mile that I recall out of there. Probably the gist of the whole thing was wondering, is she still alive?
When we continue.
Yes, I've been shot. You've been shot? My wife is Frances, and I think she's dead. And I'm about to pass out, so I can't do any more.
It had been 10 minutes since a hunter had shot Dennis and Frances Queasty. Though seriously wounded himself, Dennis had been forced to go for help and leave his critically injured wife lying by the road.
When I got home, opened the door and called 911, I kind of felt lightheaded. I'm not really clear on what all I said when I called him.
His call for help came in at 6:52 p.m.
Sheriff's office.
Yes, I've been shot.
You've been shot?
My wife, I don't know if she's dead or not. Between the Silver Bridge and Henry's store on the old pipeline road. And I'm about to pass out, so I can't do any more.
All right, now just a minute. Where are you calling me
I'm
from?
calling from my house, right at the Henry's store, right next door. Denny Queesty's my name.
All right, Denny Queesty?
Yes, my wife is Frances, and I think she's dead.
Oh, my.
The neighbor right down here shot me. Thought it was a bear.
All right.
It just feels like if you close your eyes to just take a breather for a minute, that they may not open back up again. Please, I'm going to black out.
Could you have gone to ETA to the area of Henry's Country Store? Grab one of the victims.
You there? I gotta go. I gotta go. I gotta go. Hello, are you there?
I'm here. The officer is about 2 minutes away. Can you wait there for him,
I will
please?
do my damnedest. Is there an ambulance coming?
There is an ambulance coming,
I'll
yes.
be there.
All right.
Thank you.
Now, just a minute.
My thought is if I lose Dennis, I'm going to lose the location on his wife. He had a tremendous feeling for his wife, and he was going to do the best he could for her, and I think this is really what kept him on his feet.
You just got to do what you got to do. Adrenaline, I don't know what you'd call it, but you never did think about laying down and quitting.
Sheriff's Deputy John Mocotel, who arrived first, had known Dennis for years.
Dennis Queesty informed me that he had been shot. He thought his arm had been blown off, and his wife, he thought she was dead. I wanted to give him some medical attention, but he didn't want any medical attention. He wanted to get to his wife as soon as possible.
We went across the highway and back down to this pipeline road, and I'm telling him that Francis is going to be laying along here someplace. But all the time that you're going down there, you're not sure what you're going to find. You know, it's kind of gnawing in the back of your mind that it isn't going to be what you want to find when you get there.
We're just off to the side of the road.
While driving down this rough, windy road, Denny told me that he didn't know for sure exactly where he left her. And so he was searching and looking as hard as I was. I've known Frances as long as I've known Dennis, and she's a really neat person. It was rather difficult to drive through there and try to get there as quickly as possible without running over her.
When she seen the lights of the car coming, she did raise her leg up in the air and wave her foot back and forth so we could see where she was. We were just within 15 or 20 feet of her.
I'm here. We're back. You okay? How you doing?
She said she was in pain. I quickly checked for bleeding. I found multiple injuries from her chest down to her abdomen. Bleeding seemed to be under control, and I explained to her that I didn't want to do anything to her at that point, and I wanted to keep her warm.
I'm really cold.
The ambulance arrived soon after.
It was a little bit of a shock when I rolled up on the scene and saw that it was Dennis Queesty was one of the victims. I've known Dennis and his wife both for about 20 years.
EMTs Steve Bird and Don Dion took care of the couple at the scene.
Dennis was scary. He was very pale. He had very large black circles around his eyes, and he was dripping with sweat. The only thing that was obvious to me was someone had gunned him. He looked like he'd been hunted.
The alleged suspect came in to the area and started screaming, "I thought it was a bear, I thought it was a bear, I didn't mean to shoot." And I told him, this is not the time or the place, we'll conduct the investigation when the wounded are gone.
The gunshot wound entered the right side of the chest, and she stated to me that she could feel the bullet sticking out her back. And the dangers that I feared the most was that it had punctured the lung or it hit a major organ and she was having a lot of internal bleeding. There really wasn't a lot we could do at the scene other than just get them transported to the hospital because it was obvious that both of them needed surgery.
Time was of the essence. We stopped the bleeding, we treated for shock, and we got her butts out.
By the time the ambulance made it the 8 miles to the nearest hospital, emergency medical staff members had gathered, including Dr. James Joy.
What do you got, Steve? Vitals? What name?
Francis Questy.
Francis, can you hear me? Francis, can you hear me, Francis?
What do you want?
Okay, she's got no airway obstruction.
My first appearance of her was that she was very shocky. She had that cold, clammy, very pallor appearance, whitish appearance. We immediately started life support treatment to the patient. Her situation was very critical at that time. Her pressure was very low.
Steve, I want blood pressures every 2 minutes. Don, let's cut her clothes off.
Once her pressure responded with fluids, I did my initial evaluation of the patient.
Get the chest tubes out, get the chest tubes.
My main concern was I knew she had abdominal trauma, but did she have chest trauma? Some serious chest problems may not show you symptoms at that particular time. They can develop an hour, 2 hours afterwards. And I didn't want to get myself into a situation here that I couldn't handle for fear that, I would be jeopardizing this patient's life.
Francis was flown by Lifebird to a hospital in Spokane, Washington, which was better equipped to handle any complications from her wound. Dennis was taken by ambulance to the same hospital where both underwent immediate surgery.
I told Francis if she got this far, she'd make it the rest of the way.
A month after the shooting, Dennis and Francis are still recuperating. If found guilty, the man accused of shooting them faces a maximum penalty of little more than that for shooting bears out of season.
It's hard to even let it sink in all at once that you might have died, because it's really hard to think about. And when I realized what my sons had been through and their wives and my parents, all this that they had been through, waiting to see if I was going to live, it was just terrible to think that they had been through they had suffered so much.
Frances is a very lucky woman that she's alive today, and it's my belief that had she been shot directly in the chest, that she would have died. And the fact that her husband absorbed the initial shock is probably what saved her life.
So how you feeling? All right? Yeah, you better. I look at Frances now, we just know she's going to be better soon, so we can get on to do the stuff that we like to do together, Today my hand and my arm are still pretty much numb. I've been doing a little bit of therapy at the hospital. I haven't seen that's made a lot of difference, but they say it will. So we'll continue doing that.
But Dennis may never be able to return to work as a mechanic.
When anyone hunts, they should have a clear picture of their target. A lot of people shoot at brush. They should never shoot at brush. A clear target is your only answer to safe hunting. You just can't shoot at anything that moves.
I'm just thankful we're both still alive. You can't really get it across how much you appreciate rescue people. I mean, words just don't say that. I'm just glad we're alive.